In this chapter, we'll be discussing about remittances. So, inward remittance means receipts of funds acquired either locally or from offshore locations. Outward remittance means funds that are transferred to recipient located within the country or internationally. Okay, so remittances between Indians and different nations is bound by FEMA regulations. So, according to this act, remittances for an individual cannot exceed 2 lakh US dollars during the financial year, whereas NRIs and PIs are restricted to $1 million. Okay, so let us see in detail about inward remittances and outward remittances. So, inward remittances means, so we are speaking of forex. So, this is international inward remittances. So, you can get inward remittance, that is, you are in India, you can get funds from some other person from abroad. So, that will be an inward remittance that can be obtained through some FEMA approved vendors like Western Union. You must have heard about Western Union. That's quite a popular company. MoneyGram is there. The other registered vendors through which you can get inward remittances. Typically, the currency will be converted at the rate of that day, and they'll deducting some fees like 1 to 2%. So, if the money is transacted to FEMA approved vendors, then the account details of the sender or receiver are not required. So, there is no need to give the account details of either the sender or the receiver. So, the deposit and withdrawal happens through the nearest branch of the vendor. So, there will be, say for example, Western Union will be having a lot of branches. So, you can go to the branch and share your credentials and get the money. So, what would be an example of inward remittance? So, say if my son is working in US and he sends me money every month. So, what he does, he deposits dollars in his bank account in US, which will then be sent to me. So my bank in India will convert that into rupees and credit it into my Indian account. Okay, so that would be inward remittance. So what is outward remittance? Money can be sent to abroad. So we are in India, we want to send money abroad. That would be an outward remittance. So usually there are two methods to send that outside money. Either it could be through foreign demand draft or wire transfer, also known as SWIFT. We'll discuss SWIFT in a separate chapter. So currently only banks in India are approved to transmit money out of India. They are not private players. There are no private players like Western Union and all. Okay. So Western Union and all the other vendors are only for inward remittances. Okay. Outward remittances only banks are allowed. Usually the demand draft is the cheapest form of sending money to abroad locations, but the process is time consuming. Okay. Because physically it has to be sent. However, during wire transfer, the amount will be credited the next working day. But compared to demand draft, it will be having higher charges. So an example of outward remittance would be if my son is studying abroad in US. So every month I will be sending him money by paying rupees into my Indian bank account. Okay, so that money will be converted by his banker, the US banker, into dollars and credited into his US account. So that would be an outward remittance. So the questions you need to be prepared in this chapter: what is inward remittance? What is outward remittance? Which act regulates remittances? It is FEMA. What is the ceiling of remittances for an individual in a financial year? How can international inward remittance be obtained? That is through RBI approved, FEMA approved vendors like MoneyGram and Western Union. Are account details of sender or receiver required for inward remittances? No, it's not required if it is a FEMA approved vendor. Give an example of inward remittance we discussed. What are two ways in which money can be sent to abroad locations? That is a foreign demand draft and SWIFT wire transfer. Who are approved to transmit money out of India? As of now, only banks are authorized. And give an example of outward remittance, we discussed that.